Get higher, baby. Get higher, baby. Get higher, girl. Hey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Knights of the Pageless Library. We are a little podcast dedicated to reviewing audiobooks. I am Bo Knight, and I am joined, as always, by Ryan Knight. And today we are taking a look at Tales of Terror, written by Edgar Allan Poe and narrated by David Thorne and Bruce Blau.
That is correct. And I'm sure some people, there's got to be a few of you who are like, where have you guys been? Well, you know, life just kind of happens, and unfortunately we weren't able to get this out during spooky month during October, but here we are. We're gonna go ahead and cover it anyways because we listened to it, so we might as well tell you guys about it.
We did the work. Now it's time to make the content.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah, so sorry we missed out. You know, we had a plan, and unfortunately just stuff happened around it that didn't allow us to execute it in time. But like I said, here we are. We'll go ahead and cover it. If anybody wants to complain at us about that, comment on us coming back, whatever you want to do, please feel
I was
free.
happy you guys were gone.
Yeah, I was so glad you didn't pop up in my feed anymore.
Yeah, it's like, thank God.
Please share those thoughts with us, though, over at kotpl.pod@gmail.com is the easiest way to get a hold of us. You can go check us out on YouTube. You can no longer leave dislikes on our videos publicly.
What?
So, yeah, didn't you see that? YouTube changed that.
Why?
I don't know, and people are pissed about it. You can only see the amount of likes a video has received now, and you can no longer see how many dislikes it has.
But people can still dislike it?
Yeah, they can dislike it, but it won't show a number to the public.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, we're just making it so much easier for just garbage to float to the top now, I feel like.
I'm sorry. Okay, what's the point of disliking something then? I don't really understand if they can't see it.
I'm not sure. I don't know if it has to do with the algorithm or I'm not really sure how it works. If somebody knows, please feel free to let us know. I haven't done the research enough to know, but I just know they took it away, and I have seen it on the videos I've watched that you can click dislike, but there's no longer a number next to it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought so. Didn't mean to get off on such a side tangent for it,
Well,
but
I didn't know that. I'm sorry, everybody.
Well, now you do, and now you can check it out. So yeah, as Bo said, we're going to be doing Tales of Terror by Edgar Allan Poe. This was part of our spooky month, so we picked this one based on thinking it was going to be a good fit for that. We did listen to this from Audible, in case anybody's wondering.
Well, and this is a specific one because there's another one that got released in 2013 that I think is the same collection of books.
Okay, probably narrated by different people though.
Same dudes.
Oh, really?
It's actually somehow a minute longer.
Okay, but it's the same stories?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess if you listen to a different version of this, then your mileage may vary. Do we know what year this was written? I don't.
So I was looking. I don't know like when each specific story was written.
Right, because this is obviously a collection of Poe's stories.
Poe only wrote short stories, I'm pretty sure.
Right, and this is just a collection of those, yeah.
So if I had to guess, I would say, like, when did he start writing? So, like, about, like, 1830s to, like, 1840s, I think was when these were released.
Dang. Super old school.
Yeah, I guess.
Like the oldest of school.
Yeah, for sure.
But the audiobook version we are listening to was released in 2006. So
yeah. Pretty old actually if you think about it.
I was gonna say, actually, yeah, this is kind of pushing the limits for an older audiobook, to be honest. So anybody I think who is a fan of horror in any sort of way has probably heard the name Edgar Allan Poe. I've heard it put before that if Lovecraft was the father of, certain types of horror, Edgar Allan Poe is the grandfather. He kind of paved the way for a lot of these other writers, and you can kind of see that in newer writing. I can definitely see like how people would take inspiration from Poe's writing for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you attended school in America, at least, you for sure have heard of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, I would say his name is pretty prolific. I'm not gonna say like everybody has read his stories or anything, but I would say he has a pretty standout name as well too. So
yeah, he does.
So what did you think of these narrators? We were talking about this right before we hit record. I didn't even realize there was two people.
I think the narrators are okay. I take a lot of issue with the way that it was recorded, and I don't know if you noticed this, but it seemed like they would be speaking, small pause, clearly different audio, say a couple words, and then it would go back to the previous audio, like from recording it. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I picked up on that, but I honestly thought it was just audio issues, not different narrators. But now that you say that,
that is an audio issue. But the other narrator would come up when another person was speaking.
Wow.
Like if there were two people talking, one of the narrators would voice one and one would voice the other.
Interesting. I didn't even pick up on that. I just thought it was one person doing multiple voices.
Because they sound almost identical.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and now this could be an issue from, obviously, like we said, this is not a like new recording of these. This is an older recording. But it is an issue nonetheless. Yeah, it is an issue for sure.
Because they'd be talking along and be like, "Oh, the old man's heart was so pause in his throat."
Yeah.
Then it would continue. Yeah. It's like really weird.
And one would have like super crisp audio.
Yeah, and then the other one was like they recorded it in an outhouse in a windstorm or something. Like it was terrible.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. I did not even pick up on that it was multiple people speaking.
Yeah, and the music I think was some of the worst I've ever heard in my life. Sometimes it's louder than the speaking. It's like, what the hell is going on?
And okay, it would have been one thing if it was like, a little like blip of music at the beginning of the chapter and a blip at the end.
Not at all how it is,
it's just randomly in the middle of the story.
Yeah.
And it is honestly like, it's like when you hear like third grade kids playing recorders. That's the kind of shit you're listening to. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I think I get what they're going for. Like, ooh, it's tension, it's eerie, but it's like it's so distracting.
Yeah, it honestly sounds like it was made like the audio for the music blips were made like when Poe was alive.
Yeah,
like, that's how unscary they are.
First
nowadays.
Recorder.
Trust, because we were just talking about the game Darkwood and how legitimately terrifying that is. Like, if this book had some of those like sound effects and blips as like bump music, then it would have been something to hear. But as it stands,
it's weird.
Yeah, as it stands, it's weird. It's distracting. It's not good. It's unnecessary. That's for sure.
It's completely unnecessary.
Yeah,
it's like weird fanfare for no reason.
Yeah, I definitely did not like that at all. So let's actually get into what this collection of stories is about. They're basically a bunch of, how many are there? There's quite a few. There's 8. Okay. So
I'm sorry, there's 9.
Okay, so there's 9 stories, vastly varying in length, for sure. Some are super short, and some kind of take up more of the runtime of this book. Which the runtime on this is only 6 hours. So to have 9 stories in 6 hours, like I said, some seem like they're about 20 to 30 minutes. Others push in probably 2 hours of the runtime. So, normally we would cover how much you could get this for, but I think this is free with Plus, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the only way to get it.
Yeah, and I think that's your only option. So, spoiler alert, I would tell you to not pay for it. So,
Yeah.
So let's get into the big questions. Is this one easy to listen to?
No.
Okay, I'm glad we agree.
It's almost
didn't think so at all.
borderline audio torture.
Yeah, for multiple reasons, I would say. One is the audio issues we discussed earlier, and 2 is that this is written in an incredibly poetic and like flowery way. And
there are so many words. I was like, I have no idea what that means.
yeah,
Like,
and sometimes
not even a clue.
and that might be more reflective of my intellect than the way the story's written.
It's funny that you say that, because I was like, man, I feel like this is such a showing of like the degradation of the American education system, that like I didn't understand any of this.
And maybe that's what it is, because it just feels like descriptive word salad sometimes to me. But I think you're right also, that's just the way things were written then, and it was in a much more articulate way, you know, and my freaking short attention span just couldn't handle it.
No, and I don't think that's not the book's fault. It's not Poe's fault.
No.
But it's just like, for me, it just like wasn't very enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely didn't. There was a few points where it kind of struck, home with like the spooky month thing we were going for, but for the most part, it wasn't. And that could also fall back on the narrators, because they do some where the narration is good with the voice changes, but for the most part, it felt very flat.
Oh, it's super flat.
And I mean, I think, we're kind of spoiled, because we know guys like, Oliver Wyman, and he spoils us when we listen to books. So to hear something like this where it's told so flat, and then finding out it's multiple people even telling it so flat, it's very disappointing.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was hard to get through it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if that wasn't obvious enough, I mean, what's your recommendation?
I guess if you have above like a 65 IQ, like not me, maybe you'll enjoy this. And like if you are like, if you're like a true like horror fan, and you like really appreciate like some old classic stories. But I guess when I say that, like, Lovecraft wasn't this hard to listen to. For you, was it?
I mean, Lovecraft for me, even as much as I enjoy Lovecraft, I definitely have to do multiple listens of his stories to actually understand what's kind of, oftentimes, not all the time. Like the Call of Cthulhu is a very good example of one of his best works, because the first time I listened to that, I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, this is creepy. So you can't necessarily say that it's only because of when it was written either, because
that's what I was trying to get at.
I mean, and maybe for the time, like, it's hard to say, but I would guess that this stuff might like, if you received a monthly magazine and some of these stories were in there, I could see how that would be very gripping and something that was very, near and dear to you, that you get this monthly story or whatever that you get to sit down by freaking candlelight and read. I can see how those could be
Yeah,
kind
you have
of
your
scary.
butler read it to you.
Oh yeah. But I could see how that could be kind of scary. I just don't necessarily know that it holds up to that today. And maybe somebody who reads Poe, like, actually knows how to read, unlike us.
Yeah. Someday.
Maybe it would hit you differently. Maybe, maybe you'd have different feelings about it. But I just feel like for me, the audiobook falls pretty flat. At least this one. I mean,
Yeah.
so
I guess so if you really like Poe and are already familiar with these stories, and for some reason don't want to read Poe again and you would rather listen to it, this is an option.
yeah, I would say, like, if you had like a school assignment and they were like, you need to read 3 Edgar Allan Poe stories and tell us about them, then this is definitely an option.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend that to a lot of kids. Like, I did that in high school. They would tell us to read a book and I would immediately go find it in audio form and you do it that way.
Take that, school.
Yeah. And it's not like that's cheating, that's, you still are going through the stories. So.
See, I feel like people, when I like talk about audiobooks, they like look down on you for listening to them. It's like, really? Well, you had to sit down and read for 2 hours while I was actually accomplishing something and getting the same story you did.
Right. See, and I mean, obviously we started this podcast because of our love of audiobooks. And I think that is why, number one, I'm not a fast reader. I'm incredibly slow at reading.
Yeah, me too.
And just being able to listen to the story, I feel like I get the same experience, if not better, for me, because I'm such a slow reader. So, and I'm one of those readers, I read a whole page and I'm like, I don't remember any of that. Like, I don't remember any of what I just read.
What was that about?
Yeah, so now I gotta go back and reread the page. That is discouraging to me. So for someone like me, like, that's where audiobooks are like a savior for that. And like you said, I can be doing other things at the same time. So which makes it all the more disappointing when you come across a story like this, where I was literally driving while I was listening to this, still don't really know what was going on in most of the stories.
Yeah.
So, and with that, I mean, that's kind of an iffy recommendation, I would say. If you're just looking for something to listen to, like on your drive to work, skip this one. There are much better books out there to fill your time, on your drive to work.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a good horror recommendation instead.
A good horror recommendation, if somebody wants something scary. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank. Can't think of one off the top of my head.
Okay, I will say, check out. This is not necessarily as scary, I would say, as probably actually more scary than these. But if you like horror, I would check out Dreamcatcher by Stephen King.
Oh, okay,
Very good.
Yeah, for sure.
Skip the movie though. Me.
Yeah. Also a good recommendation. We have not covered that on the podcast, unfortunately. People can't go back and listen to our podcast about it.
But maybe we will. Shoulder shrug.
Yeah, so with that, we'll go ahead and pass the spoiler wall real quick. I don't know that either one of us will have a whole lot to say about it, but here's your warning. If you do want to listen to this and you don't want to have it spoiled for you, go ahead and go do that. We can't say we didn't warn you. And then please come back here and hear what we have to say about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so 9 stories and the titles of them. So what's the first one?
The first one is the Telltale Heart, which in my opinion is by far the strongest. But I think that's just because I'm so familiar with this story. Like, as I was telling Ryan, this is a story that I had to like read in front of the class in 8th grade, so that I'm pretty familiar with this one.
Okay. I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one then, because I honestly
Oh, you don't remember this one? See, okay, I like this one. So this one is like
it's been almost a month since I listened to the book, so.
Oh, this is where, like, after this one, my expertise will go immediately into the toilet.
Okay.
But so this one is all from first person, and it's about this kid. Well, I think he's more of like a young adult. He's probably about 16, 17. He's working for this old man who has like this nasty eye that kind of like is like a lazy eye that sees wrong.
Okay.
And one day it looks at him the wrong way, and I mean, there's lots of like he's essentially recounting what he did to the police.
Right.
But so he's telling like the escalation of the story of how like he would slowly open the old man's door every night and just like stand there to see if he would notice. And then like one night the eye looked at him wrong, and so he killed him and he buried him beneath the floorboards.
Right. Okay.
But as he can still hear his heart underneath the floorboards, like pounding all the time.
Right.
And he actually, the police meet with him and he talks with them, and then and he's like going on and on, like prattling. They're not even asking him questions. And then he eventually admits to it and rips up the floorboards and is like, he's there. He's underneath the floorboards. I can't take this anymore. He's there.
Yeah. Okay, I do remember the story now. Now that even that little first part jogged my memory. Yeah, and I would say this is a pretty good story. And I mean, honestly, the way that Bo told it, that is the summary of it. I mean, it is that quick. It's a pretty short story.
It's not very long.
No, and I would say that is a good story. I did like that one. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like scary per se.
No.
But an interesting story for sure.
Yeah, and the next one is called Facts in the Case of M. Vladimir. Valdemar, sorry.
And I'm pretty sure the M is for Monsieur Valdemar.
What the hell does that mean?
I don't know. Sounds French.
I don't remember this one at all.
I think this is the one. The dude is like dying, right?
And they like hypnotize him so he stays alive. I think
so. Yeah, and so he's like clinically dead, but he's like able to tell them what he's seeing, right? But while he's dead, I'm pretty sure.
And he like makes horrible noises.
Yeah. He basically is dead on this table, but somehow they are able to he's able to like talk to them and tell them what he is seeing and experiencing basically while he's dead, if I remember correctly.
You're right.
That story, as interesting as it sounds when we say that, not that interesting. Yeah.
Nah, it's super clinical and dry because it's like written by the guy who hypnotized him, who's like doing trials.
Yep. Yeah, and that's a great way to put it. It's very clinical sounding, and it just, I didn't think it was that interesting at all.
No, me neither. I didn't remember it until you told me.
The next one, I have the list pulled up now too, is Hopfrog.
Yeah, what's this one?
I actually did like this one. This is the one with the jester who is like a midget.
Oh, okay, yeah. Burns and alive. Based on a true story too.
It is? Mm-hmm. Really?
Something super similar happened at a guy's wedding. They all dressed up as orangutans, and they like used burlap and were covered in oil.
Are you serious?
Yep, and like 20 people burned alive.
Oh. Okay, so this story, out of all of them,
it wasn't like a trick though. They were trying to just like fuck with people.
Okay.
It was an accident that they burned alive.
Dang, holy crap. That makes it even worse, because this story actually stood out the most to me, to be honest.
See, I thought since this one's based on a true story, I saw it coming from like a mile away.
See, and I didn't know that. So okay, I could see how that one catches you differently, like but I liked this one. So this one is about Hopfrog. He is like the king's jester, or like a duke or something like that, right? It might be king.
I think it is a king, because I think it is a king.
And basically this jester, and then he has a couple of other friends that are in like the king's service, and the king treats them like shit, basically all of them. So Hopfrog, the jester, convinces the king and his like court that one thing that would be like extra crazy at like this this party they're gonna have would be for them all to dress up as orangutans, and he calls it something.
Insult the jester like pretty severely.
They insult him. They hit the one girl who's like his best friend. They treat her like shit, and I'm pretty sure they beat the shit out of her. So this is all before he tells the king, that he should dress up as orangutans for this upcoming party. And not only that, it was like they call it something like the circle of something, but basically all have to be dressed as orangutans and bound together, like with their in a circle, but all facing outward. And so the king agrees to this and does this, and while this party's all tied together, so they can't get away from each other, and they're bumbling around the party itself, freaking people out. Hopfrog jumps into the middle of them, and he has the other, I'm pretty sure it's the other girl, right, lower the chandelier hook and hooks the party by the line they're tied together with and drags them up to the ceiling of like this huge hall, and Hopfrog proceeds to set all of them on fire, which is horrifying.
Yeah,
because they're all hanging above everyone. Yeah, just burning. And yeah, like you said, they had to be covered in tar because they used like red
tar and like flaxseed, I think.
Yeah, to give them the red appearance, right? Oh man. Oh yeah, this one actually stuck with me. Like, this one's pretty crazy, but it makes it even more horrifying that you said it's based on a true story. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. But it was an accident.
Shit.
It wasn't like somebody was like freaking executing people for doing something wrong. It was like an accident, and they were like, I think they were like at some ball, and there were not supposed to be any torches, and then some drunk asshole came in with a torch on accident and lit one of them on fire. But I think they called themselves the Bag Men.
It's pretty intense either way. If it is true, like, holy crap. But yeah, I actually thought this one was pretty good. So then, like, after Hopfrog lights him on fire, he freaking escapes, and it's a short story, so we don't know what happened with it.
Yeah,
probably went on to live happily ever after. I don't know. The next one is called Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Yeah, is this the long one?
Yeah.
There's one of these that's like an hour and 40 minutes.
Pretty sure it's this one. And if I remember right, this is the one where the investigators, there's like 2 dead people in the house, right? One of them got like killed in the room, like her head was almost cut off, right?
I don't remember this one at all.
Okay, so I'm thinking this is the one where the investigators are trying to figure out what happened to these 2 people. One of them looks like she had her head cut, but like it's almost cut completely off. And the other one was drugged like up the chimney. And basically what we find out is, and like you said, this is so long and so boring right up to the very end.
Oh yeah, this one I tuned out.
Yeah. So if I remember right though, by the end, they find this dude who purchased an orangutan. I don't know what Poe's obsession with orangutans was.
Me neither. They always talk about crows when it comes to him.
Yeah. Well, they should talk about orangutans, because I'm pretty sure 3 out of these 9 stories have orangutans in them. But this dude like bought this orangutan. It was like a trained one, and it was like in a room, and it saw him like shaving with his razor, and the orangutan gets a hold of the razor, and then that lady comes in and it cuts her fucking head off, and it grabs the dude and beats the shit out of him and drags him up the chimney, and it leaves his body there in the chimney. And that's literally it. It takes almost 2 hours to tell that story. And it is not really scary at all because it's so boring.
No, it's so super boring.
I mean, the idea of an orangutan with a freaking razor, like a shaving razor, is terrifying. But the way this was told is not scary at all.
Okay, just for anybody who is curious, I looked it up. That event where all those people were burned is known as the Ball of the Burning Men, where 4 men were burned to death.
Oh, wow. And that's what Poe based that story on?
No, doesn't it seem like it? Because it's almost like the same thing.
Yeah, does it say when that supposedly took place?
In 1393.
Oh, well then, yeah, because if Poe was writing in the 1800s, yeah, then for sure he probably based it on that. Interesting. Dang, man, nice little tie in there. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know how I knew about this shit.
I don't know either, but that's awesome. That's a good little factoid. I like it.
Maybe Poe, it's not based on that, and I'm just full of shit, but it seems oddly similar.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems legit to me. Moving on here, the next one is called Mask of the Red Death, and I couldn't tell you a single thing about it.
I don't remember this one at all either.
Nope. And I actually want to say this was one of the stories. It's so short that it started, and then I was in almost the middle of the next story before I realized they weren't the same story.
Yeah, it's only 16 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, yes. Okay, that makes perfect sense then. So you know what? Moving on, because I don't remember it at all.
Fair enough.
The next... Sorry, I clicked off the freaking thing.
So the next one is called The Pit and the Pendulum.
Yeah, and I kind of remember what happens in this, but I don't understand it at all. Like,
I don't remember this one at all.
Okay, I just remember there's the dude's like crawling around in the dark, and he hears the ticking of the pendulum, but I don't remember what any of it has to do with anything.
Okay, so yeah, like it seemed like he was like captured or something. Like somebody had put him in like a hole.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
But yeah, I don't remember like if he gets out or anything like that.
No. I don't know. It wasn't very interesting. The next one is Fall of the House of Usher. Do you remember anything about this one?
No. Like, oh man. What is this one? The Fall of the House of Usher. Nope.
Yeah, I'm drawing a complete blank on that one, to be honest. The next one is the Black Cat.
Oh, see, I like this one.
Okay, I don't remember anything about this one.
So this one is just like, it's first person again, and it's a guy, basically he was like in love with his cat, like it would like follow him everywhere, and essentially in like an act of rage, he kills it.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
And then another cat shows up that looked almost identical to his other cat, but it has like a white stripe on it. But this cat is like super obnoxious, as cats are, and is like getting in between his legs and stuff like that. And then him and his wife are down in the cellar doing something, and he goes to kill the cat, and his wife stops him, and he ends up and just turns the axe on her and kills her.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then he boards her, he puts her up in the wall that was like torn down that they were down there to fix, and he puts her up in the wall in the basement. And then like I think so the cops come to check on him and like figure out where she's at, and the cat is like meowing down there. And so they go to investigate that, and he had put the cat in the wall with her on accident.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Okay, that one's okay. I would say that one's okay.
See, I like that one because I don't like cats.
Yeah. Oh, I don't like cats either. And that sounds like something a cat would do.
Exactly.
Because they're dicks. Send us all your hate because we don't like cats. We want to hear it.
Bring it.
Because if there's one thing I know, the internet loves cats for some reason.
Yeah, they would.
And the last story is the Cask of Amontillado.
Which this one's okay.
Yeah, and I mean I don't fully understand what happened in this story.
So essentially, right, like he goes to his friend who is also like a wine dealer, and he's looking for like a certain type of wine, and he tells him where to find it, but his friend like insists on coming with him, and then like he like tricks him into this basement and like locks him in there and just leaves him there.
He like bricks him up in there.
Yeah.
Right. Why?
That's what I didn't understand at all. It's like why he did it to this guy. I don't know.
This is also the one story out of all of these two that I have to tip my hat to the narrators, because the one dude like does like the coughing fits and stuff.
It's great.
And that's actually really good. Like, to be honest, if more of the stories had been told in that way, I felt like I would have stayed engaged a lot longer. But yeah, I didn't really understand what happened. I just remember, he's like, "Ooh, we can find the Amontillado," and the other guy's like, "The Amontillado? Yeah, the Amontillado." Like, they say it a lot.
They do.
Yeah, and then he like leads him to the place where it's at, but then he just like pushes him in and he shuts the door and he bricks it up, and he can just hear the other guy that he shoved in there like laughing and coughing at the same time, and then it ends. And I'm like, what's just happened?
Yeah, I'm not sure why he did that.
No, I don't get it at all. I mean, that story is okay, but like I said, I think it's just a nod to the narrators for me. But yeah, that's it. That's all 9 stories in that one.
Yeah, that's Tales of Terror.
Yeah. Not super terrifying. A little disappointing for since we wanted to do it for Spooky Month, but you know, that's not really our fault, because everybody says like, "Oh, Edgar Allan Poe, it's all super scary," which, you know, we kind of shared our feelings about that in the beginning. So
I think horror has come such a long way that it's hard to be scared by this stuff.
and maybe that's what it is, man. Yeah, if you're talking about stories that are almost 200 years old, you know, that's stuff's gonna change. You know, things are gonna be different. So, and like I said, I truly believe if I was sitting by firelight reading some of these, I would be scared. Or like if somebody was reading them to me, you know, if we were sitting around as a family and like somebody was reading them to you as a family, I could see how it would be pretty scary.
Super scary. Like I think they're more like disturbing more than anything, because there isn't really like a lot of fantastical elements.
No, and the fact that they're so short, they don't have a lot of time to breathe. Like, but I mean, it makes sense that they're short. You know, I don't know. I don't feel like people were writing, because even most of Lovecraft stuff is really short too, and Lovecraft was much more recent than Poe. So, but yeah. That I think that about does it for Tales of Terror, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm done beating this actual dead horse.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know you guys' thoughts about that. We'd love to hear from you guys. Again, kotpl.pod@gmail.com is the easiest way to get a hold of us. Like I said before, head on over to YouTube, and you can leave us a dislike, but we might not even find out about it.
Yeah, suckers.
Please tell your friends. You know, if you guys enjoy what we do, let your friends know. We would really appreciate that. That's all we would ask of anybody right now. You know, this is a conversation we were going to have inevitably, so we just hit record instead, so you guys can basically hear the conversation we're going to have about it. So
anything else?
With that, what are we doing next time? Even though we're so far behind, what are we doing next time?
So the next book that we are looking at is called The Luminous Dead, which is quite a bit newer. It actually came out in 2019.
Yeah, 2019. Yeah.
And then we just have one more episode of Charlotte to do before we wrap up that series in our Anime Squires.
Yeah. So if you guys, if you want a chance to suggest an anime for the next one, now would be the time to do it, because there's only one more episode of that. We already have an anime lined up if we don't get any suggestions, but we would like to hear from you guys.
Yeah, we sure would.
Yeah.
So I think with that, we will catch you all in the next one. Thanks for listening.